Hi guys, I wanted to come in here because I got a really amazing question on my DMs about how I got into health and also my journey. And I shared this on my podcast, but just in case you missed it, I'm making this video for YouTube and you can kind of hear it. I'm going to try and keep it 20 minutes maximum. So, my interest in health actually started in 2004, fully. And by health, I mean ways to really heal my body and my relationship with food. Now, my interest started then. Doesn't mean that I actually got it right. I got it right probably 10 years later. And it was a journey, but that's because when I actually come from having a very bad relationship with my body, I had anorexia when I was a teenager for 2 years. And when I got to put on weight and eat again, I started because I managed to snap out of starving myself, but I was still starved emotionally. So I still had that mindset that my body wasn't good and that I wasn't enough and that there was just no self-love. And it took me many years to really get to a point where I am finally loving myself. And even then, I will talk about it in a minute, but it's not a straightforward journey. I actually shared in my podcast that healing is not linear. And I think we have to appreciate that sometimes we are really simplifying a very complex conversation. And anyone that had eating disorders knows how hard it is to accept your body, especially with eating disorders. Then you have body dysmorphia, which I have. So I grew up with a mother that had an eating disorder. So I was always told that I was too big, too fat. I was never actually fat. I was very, very athletic child. I played volleyball since a childhood. I was competing professionally. I always loved moving my body. I was super sporty. Like I was the tomboy of tomboys in the 80s and 90s and really enjoyed moving my body. I started going to the gym when I was like 14. The thing is that the reason for going to the gym, aside from the fact that I loved moving my body, was to have the body that I wanted. And to be honest with you, just to mention, I have the body I've always wanted now in my 40s. So I always struggled with how I wanted to look. And that's because even when I was anorexic, I was skinny, but I had no energy. I actually have blanks. I don't remember. This is why when people tell me, "Oh, you are anorexic again because I lost a lot of weight." Trust me, I am not. I eat, but yeah, I lost weight and sometimes I lose more than others when depending on stress, but actually I do feed myself. I am mostly raw. I don't eat any junk or sugar. Sometimes I would treat myself to a little bit more fats, like, treats like nuts and chocolate together. That's a lot of calories. But other than that, my diet is naturally lower in calories, but very high in nutrients. So quite honestly, this is working well. I feel super energetic. And when I feel tired, I check in with myself and say, okay, what have I missed that maybe my body needs? And I bring it in again and no problem. So I definitely have a much better relationship with my body and my food because of the lifestyle that I've adopted. So aside from that, though, I basically, in my teenage years, I just didn't like my body. I started going to the gym to try and lose weight. And when I moved to Mauritius in 97, yeah, the beginning of 98, I basically was surrounded by women, by girls of my age who were super skinny, just naturally. Maybe it's like the island life. And they were eating junk. Like, if I ate what they ate, I was just, but I think it's because I was eating with an emotional component to it. I was probably overeating because food was my comfort as well as my nemesis. Like, I didn't want to eat too much because I didn't want to be fat, but at the same time, then I was eating a lot because that was my cushion. There was Food has always been my comfort, which is why food is actually my love language because I see it as comfort. And now of course, I make amazing healthy food, and I always kind of I cooked very healthy food at home, But sometimes then when I had my binges that started mostly later after anorexia and in my 20s, I was trying to be healthy, have healthy snacks and depriving myself from actually just having a good treat, get over it and done. I was trying to healthify my cheats, which didn't work. It was worse actually because I was having more ultra processed foods that were lower in sugar, lower in fat, but like without a bunch of junk. Then my body was like, what are you doing to me? And because I thought that they were healthier, I was having more of them. So you can understand like there was a lot of turmoil inside and there was a lot of turmoil on the outside. When I moved, actually, when I moved to London after university, so after university, I moved back to South Africa. I thought I'll stay there. And for a couple of years, I went to South Africa. I was thinking about doing a master's. I wanted to actually study medicine, but at the time in Cape Town, I could only find homeopathy as a school. And I love naturopathy or becoming an MD, but I was so unfocused, and because I was starving myself of really good nutrients, to be honest with you, I couldn't think long term like I think now. And now I don't care that I'm in my 40s. If I have to, I want to study, I study. And I'm actually an eternal student because I really love enriching my body. I mean, I became an ND now, like a naturopathic doctor in my 40s. So I don't think that there's a limit to when you want to study. You have to have the patience though, because it takes time, especially when you're not, just focusing on that. You have to work as well. But I basically, yeah, moved to South Africa, and after 2 years, I moved to London to do a course in creative arts because I thought maybe just expressing myself a little bit more. My stepdad was he was really pushing me to find more artistic ways to be maybe become even an actress. The thing is that in London you get a good reality check. I went to art school and then I saw that most of my peers, including my teachers, they were not living the Hollywood life. Like, and the reality check was, listen, you can study this, but literally you will have to have a side job while you do this gig because it doesn't pay. There are so many people that want to become A-listers. It doesn't happen for the majority of people. So I was like, okay, hold on a second. So I am doing all this to then work in a bar or a restaurant? I don't think so. So I'm like, okay, what am I good at? Well, I studied international affairs when I was good at business in a way. In business development. I was good at consulting and just having a very big picture and projects. And so I went back to South Africa and I was still trying to find my feet for a couple of years. And at that time, actually, I also started a relationship with my second serious boyfriend. My first one was a little bit when I was younger. And I was like, okay, well, I'm moving back to South Africa. My boyfriend is here. I can study and just figure out what I want to do. And we were together for a year and a half. But in that year and a half, I just didn't know what I wanted to do. And I think that really stressed that relationship as well because it was a little bit older, it was more focused, and it's like, you're a kid. And I was. And I was also, again, emotionally not in the right place because I didn't address the actual issues, which, to be honest with you, I didn't even know what they were. And many of them came up at 38. So you can imagine that's like a long time before. So then I went back to London, but this time I went to London with the idea of being in an industry where I would make money, I would have financial freedom so that I could travel and do whatever I wanted to do. So I got into banking. Well, the first time I actually got into finances and then I got into banking. At the same time, I was again living life and doing so many things that I love doing, but I was still not dealing with the emotional components. So fast forward many years of having fun in London, and then at 30, decided to go for my blood work once again. And my doctor said, "This is interesting. Your cholesterol is a little bit high. We have to bring it down. Your white blood cells are a little bit high, but normally we see this in Mediterraneans." And my background is Italian. And then she said, "And your blood sugar is slightly high." She didn't say I had pre-diabetes, and I actually don't know what my A1C was because, believe it or not, at the time we were not testing it. And now, even if you don't ask it, they don't test it, which is mind-blowing for me. But my fasting glucose was over 100. She's like, it's a little bit high. Just let's bring it down a little bit. Cut the sugar. So I cut the sugar and I cut the carbs. I wasn't eating bread. I was depriving myself of all the things that I loved. No sweet potatoes, no potatoes, and just focusing on lean protein, which at the time were animal flesh because I was still an omnivore. So um, I was having the eggs. She's like, when I eggs don't have, 3 a week, have one a week because of the cholesterol. So I was having one a week instead of three. Went back for my blood work. And by the way, I was also at the gym 2 hours a day, every single day, 7 days a week, doing 1 hour of cardio and 1 hour of weight training. I was training with the boys. Like I was still seriously muscular, but I had also fat on my muscle, so you couldn't see the definition. But I was working out every day. My adrenals were exhausted. I had high cortisol all the time because I was stressing my body. I was probably not eating well enough. I was, again, the deprivation. And then sometimes I would binge because my body was just like, oh my God, just give me something, woman. So, and I was feeling very empty, to be honest with you. It was very lonely in London. It's a city that is fast paced. I had a lot of friends. We were partying a lot, but I felt lonely. And that's because I didn't love my own company. Because really, again, the emotional stuff. Fast forward 2 years, like actually that was around 29. At 30, I met my longest relationship, Kyle. And when I met him, I was already like in a stage. Well, I was doing a little bit better. Actually, he really allowed me not to binge anymore because we were just having a really good time together. We were cooking together. We were having weekends where instead of binging on a weekend, we were doing things together, even just relaxing, watching movies, but we were together. So I didn't feel that I needed to binge, which is again the emotional component. And then I started studying. I said, I want to do something different. Like banking is great, it pays a lot of money. We're traveling a lot, but I really need to find something that fills my soul. I had done already a nutrition course, but I wanted to do more. So I started working with health and becoming a health coach at IIN. So in that year, I experienced so many things I didn't know. And one of the lectures that I listened to was by Dr. Neil Barnard, and he was talking about the relationship between fats and high glucose, and how, of course, high glucose, cholesterol are very interlinked because of the fats. So I was like, saturated fats mostly. Um, and I started looking into this, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna try a plant-based diet. So in 2013, I went plant-based. Sorry, 2012, I went plant-based, and in September, and I was like, brilliant. I'm not gonna have any animal products. Sorry, 2013, yes. Um, and then we went for Thanksgiving to the US because Carl is from the US and his mom had this turkey and I didn't want to be rude. So after 2 months of having no meat, I tried some. And for the first time in my life, I clocked on the fact that there was flesh of an animal, of a living being. And I honestly tasted disgusting. Like I remember the taste being great. It was smoked turkey, but beyond the smokiness and the flavor, I tasted the flesh. Like your gut microbiome changes, your taste bud change, and I was like, I can't eat this. I love animals. I mean, I can't even believe that I didn't clock before. Like that's just put it that way. And from then on, I haven't touched any animal products. Actually, I had a little bit of cheese in between, but other than that, nothing. And it was really easy to give it up. Sometimes I missed that, like, a grilled fish or the goat cheese. Like the taste of goat cheese is very specific, and sometimes I missed it. But with time, I stopped even thinking about it. And in the meantime, I learned how to make so many more wonderful things that I never miss animal products. So, in fact, even when we went last weekend on this farm, the chicken there was one chicken. She laid eggs in front of the door and left them there. So my friend had them, in which case, honestly, I was like, you know what? She left them here. She's free. Nobody cares if she makes the eggs or not. Sometimes they find that and they eat them, but they don't, she's not forced to have them. In fact, she doesn't have them every day. Um, but she basically wasn't hatching them. She just left them there. So she had them. And even then, even that although the eggs were there, and honestly, they were, in my opinion, they are actually vegan because, again, she's a free bird that is just leaving eggs in front of your door. I didn't want them. Like, I just don't feel cold to have any animal products. Moreover, that was one scenario. Like, I don't think it's very easy to find, places where you can find eggs that are just lay around and you can eat them. And most people that have chickens that are free, they're pets, and they lay eggs and they eat them, they're not going to give them away because they only make maybe five a week, if that, if that. Um, so, it's not enough. Like, you don't sell them, you don't give them away if you eat them because there's just not enough. So there's no point anyway. And that that kind of symbiotic relationship with nature, it can't happen as easily. Unfortunately, it's a good concept. I believe it can happen if you have that, again, in this case. But yeah, so I didn't have them and I don't miss it. Then I basically stopped having animal products. I went to India. That was very cathartic for me because I saw people having some dairy, in the form of paneer, but cheese. But I was like, you know what? I saw cows everywhere, very skinny, unfortunately. But how they treated the cows, like they are these very holy animals. And I'm like, why don't we treat all animals like this though? Like, cows are amazing, and of course they should be looking better than this, and it shouldn't be in the middle of Delhi. But okay. I, however, see that beauty and that holiness in them, and I see that here, and I see that in every animal. And I started looking at animals as sentient beings, just like us. And I'm thinking, we don't eat humans, but we're eating other species. We don't drink our own milk, but we drink the milk of other species, which I always thought, by the way, that milk came from a cow for us. I never before even thought about the fact that that milk is there for their babies, that they have to be pregnant. So when I learned that truth, I was like, oh my God, you really are that dumb that you didn't notice? Come on. But that really brought me into this beautiful journey of veganism as well as being plant-based. And the thing is that at the time that I went plant-based, in 2013, I London, I was in London, so London started with this boom of vegan movement. So the restaurants were opening. I mean, 2014, I remember there were like five restaurants just in Notting Hill where I lived. It was like amazing. My favorite ones, Redemption, which unfortunately closed after during the pandemic, and Nama, which was raw. And although I wasn't raw, at the time I loved going there because my friend Richard and Irene, my friends Richard and Irene, were they really built something amazing. Richard is an amazing chef who, by the way, I'm going to do a retreat with because we just want to teach people how to make amazing gourmet raw food, but we'll also have access to vegan cooked food and we'll talk about the benefits. So I'll bring the nutrition, he'll do the amazing artwork, which is food. And and I just enjoyed, having that experience of things booming, like more products. Planet Organic was my second home, as Celero is here because I apparently have a thing for health stores. So I was spending a lot of time there and I saw this array of products coming in and I was meeting all these wonderful brands and I became ambassador for some of them. They asked me already to be an influencer for some of them, went on affiliate when that wasn't a big thing at the time because I understood the value, I understood the product, I understood the superfoods, and again, I was studying as well, so I understood that connection. One of my lecturers was actually David Wolf, who talks about superfoods in a way that nobody else can. It's like amazing. I have him on my podcast if you want to listen to him. And this journey started and continued. But of course, as I got healthier, I lost weight without thinking. I stopped thinking about how I looked because I really liked myself and I liked the way that I was feeling. But with time, some more emotional stuff started coming up. And because my go-to place was food, I started having more comforting food instead of healthier options. Together with the healthier options, I was having more comforting food that we would buy in Planet Organic. So, again, with more products coming out, you're naturally gonna start having more ultra processed foods, even that are vegan. So this is why I always talk about the relationship between being vegan and all food plant-based, because you want to eat healthy when you're vegan because it's very easy not to. And because veganism is an ethical choice, not so much a dietary one, if you don't do it right, it's very easy to stay in the same pattern as you were when you were eating other products if you're eating junk food, right? So that is always my ethos and the way I educate people. Something vegan doesn't necessarily mean straight away that is healthy. So I basically, I started having some problems with Kyle in 2016, and I started really relying on the food to bring comfort again. And that really continued. 2017, 2018, there was a lot of personal stuff going up that was brewing inside of me, but I just didn't have the space, the calm, or even the tools to deal with it. So, as a true avoidant, I started shoving it to the side and not thinking about any of it until 2019 when I had been working really, really hard in Portugal. So coming here every 2 weeks. So having this double life, working in London, coming here in Portugal, overseeing the works here, fixing everything, dealing with horrible men from the mountains who think that women have no say, basically like they're stuck in the Middle Ages with their ego and fighting this battle, and then having a lot of problems with the builders. And but I was alone dealing with it, so I was exhausted, I was stressed. We came here. We then I found myself yanked out of my routine in London, and I had no community here. And then my mother came. She was supposed to help me set this up because I had broken my wrist on one of the trips here. I fell, broke it. So I was like, okay, I have a lot of unpacking to do and tidying up. Please come and help me. First time I ever asked for that kind of help, by the way, like the help that you want from a mom that comes here and is like, I'm going to cook for you and look after you. And that didn't happen. And it triggered me so much because I actually realized that I never had that motherly support. And that I always was the mom in the relationship. So I was a very parentified child. And not because my parents are bad people, but just because they were young and they had no tools on how to be parents, which most people don't, even if they're older. But imagine being 18 and having a baby and you're still a baby, like, and you'd have no support that educates you. There's like that ancestral, like you have to do the things this way, and cultural, not modern ancestral, like the cultural thing instead of education, support. And my grandmother was very tough because she had a very tough life. She took over. She took over as a mom from my mom instead of teaching my mom. And so I think my mom also felt very troubled, and there was a lot of emotional stuff there. And there was emotional stuff even when she was pregnant with me. And we take those things. That is an ancestral connection. This is the ancestral part. That is that genetic messaging that comes when you have a baby. In your womb, you transfer all these emotions to that baby. So you actually can be born with stress. And so I think I was, and I believe I was, I am convinced that I was, and I'm convinced that it's trauma that wasn't even mine that I had to deal with. And in 2019 is when I say I met my dark night of the soul, which is I always talk about. I even talked about when I was interviewed by a friend, many podcasts actually, about how this dark night of the soul comes to you and tells you all these things, and you have to face them. You can escape them, and then nothing changes, or you have to face them, and you're gonna go through a serious crisis, which is what I went through. And then I basically found out that all that stress that I had accumulated through the years, coming here, then family, like everything, I was sick. Then the pandemic happened, 2020, and I had already set up where we are in this farm. This has been set up to be a retreat center. I had the whole year booked, the whole summer booked, and I had to cancel everything. So my world collapsed because I was craving community. And I was like, oh, my friends are coming to host retreats here. It's going to be beautiful to host them and have people that I connect with that are on the same wavelength. And none of it happened. And I was trying to find that in anything and anyone. And it wasn't flowing. It wasn't flowing. And at the same time, I was sick, but I didn't know. I just knew I felt bad. Since 2019, I kept on telling everybody that I was feeling like I was getting a stroke at any time, at any point. And they thought I was being a drama queen. And I didn't go and have my blood work. I didn't see a doctor. I was just so overwhelmed with everything. I didn't know where to go, what to do. I was really lost in this because like this place has consumed me to just set it up. And it continued even, by the way, after we moved here, it wasn't perfectly done. I mean, it took 5 years to actually get it where it is now, and it's still, improving. But well, now not so much because actually we are at a fork in my life where, but I was feeling horrible. Then my sister moved here as well. My brother was here because of the pandemic. We're like, okay, here we're in nature, but living all together, oh boy. If you think you're an enlightened being, live with your family, and then you'll see that you're not an enlightened being. And there are so many things you still have to learn about life. That was like, wow. Um, so that was an interesting teaching moment, but I also realized that, yeah, I didn't look after myself at all, that I was becoming very victim-minded, and that I recognized that behavior because I saw my mom as being that, right? Victim mentality, everything is, oh, I'm such a good person, everything happens to me because other people are not good people. And so I was just in that in that kind of I guess in that karma, in that victimhood karma that was really just developing to be worse and worse, and I wasn't happy. And at the beginning of 2021, I went for my blood work, and I honestly didn't expect it to be so bad because at the end of 2020, I was like, okay, I'm gonna just start eating a bit better, and I had kept being vegan, but I went back to eating much more processed vegan food for convenience. I had my brother here, my sister here. Then my brother's girlfriend was living with us for a while. So I felt like I had so many people to cook for that I started making things that were easier and they were based basically on rice, lentils, and not as many veggies. Like I wasn't having my big salads because I would have to make salads for everyone, and that was just expensive for 5, 6 people. So I wasn't doing it, and yeah, I found comfort in food again, once again. And when I got my blood work results, my jaw was on the floor. I had type 2 diabetes. And at the same time, I also knew that I had adrenal exhaustion. My hormones were all over the place. And although my period hadn't been affected, everything else had. I had all the symptoms of perimenopause that you can imagine. And by the way, perimenopause can start in our 30s. I had accentuated the symptoms, which now I don't have, but well, to that extent, but of course I see changes in my body, but like not to that extent. I feel good. And I just knew something had to change. So I started working with a naturopathic doctor who became my doctor. And I started really just actually analyzing what is it that is not working. But first thing was my body. I wanted to get healthier and sleep better, which sleep was a big thing that I just wasn't doing well. And waking up in the morning exhausted was exhausting. So I started really just taking care of me. And then I had to also have surgery in my mouth because years before I had a root canal. And root canals, I didn't know what they were at the time, but I got educated about it, and I was like, wow, you have this dead tooth in your mouth, really, because the root is taken out. And and it fosters a lot of bacteria and it can cause issues. So my holistic doctor, dentist here in Porto, she said, look, this meridian is your stomach and digestion. I always had digestion issues. So I was like, okay, we can do this. This was in 2022 now that I would do it, but I need some time to mourn the loss of my tooth because this is still my body part. I wish I didn't have to let it go, but I know it's better to let it go and have an implant, but I need to mourn it and grieve. And she said, take your time. So while I was doing that, I was preparing emotionally to let it go, but I was also preparing physically. So that's when I started looking more into a whole food diet that was raw. And mostly because I was determined to reverse diabetes naturally. I was not going to take metformin. And I told my homeopath, look, you can suggest anything, but this is what I'm going to do. I was already studying again. No, actually, I wasn't. I was going to begin back holistic nutrition and then naturopathy. But I already knew so many things. And I said, I'm just going to do this naturally. So I'm going to make sure that I combine cinnamon with chromium to allow more of a metabolic health response, and amla in my smoothies. Smoothies, I had to learn how to eat them instead of just swallowing them. So, I would put some greens into my green smoothie or berry smoothie in the morning so that I would still chew some fiber and not everything was already mixed together. I started having my big salads. I just started really, and I felt amazing. And when I went to the dentist, she was like, I don't know what you're doing, but you look really, really healthy. And I said to my dentist, Annabella, I would love to actually not have any antibiotics or painkillers, please. Of course, when you do the operation, let's use anesthesia, local anesthesia, otherwise might be a little bit much, but and even with the anesthesia, some of it I felt, but I didn't complain. And she was really amazed. We did an interview together actually because I wanted to share with people why root canals are bad for women, especially the relationship to breast cancer and so on. So it's on my podcast. But she was like, wow. And she gave me high doses of B12, no, not high doses, but she gave me B12, D vitamin, chlorella, and spirulina and vitamin C, high dose of vitamin C. And she said, okay, I'm going to give you this to get you started. Then when you go home, and I started also doing mouth washes or oil pulling first thing in the morning with ozone oil. She was doing ozone therapy in my mouth too. I was doing that. I was massaging my gum with cloves and cinnamon essential oils. I was also, after the operation, I was drinking my homemade antibiotics with oregano oil and garlic. So I bought some tablets and stuffed them with fresh garlic and oregano oil and have that for a week, which of course kills the bad bacteria and it doesn't affect the good bacteria as much, although of course there's always an impact. But I was also having probiotics, but it was all natural, and I felt great. I had no infections. The pain wasn't so bad. The swelling wasn't so bad. It was like a couple of days that I was a little bit swollen, but not that bad. I could talk, but I had to be careful whilst the gum was healing before the permanent implant. So I was having a lot of soft food like oats, and I was having my smoothies, juices, green juices. I started juicing again, which I loved. I started, I was just doing really good things for myself and feeling the difference. And again, being mostly raw. And my process normally takes 6 to 8 months, 4 months. So in 4 months, she could put the implant and it was done. She was really impressed and I was very happy with myself, but I was healing. So that was 2022 into 2023. But 2023, when I was really in a good place with my body, I had reversed type 2 diabetes now, it took a year and a half. And the second year, which was 2023, other emotional stuff had to start healing too. And I started realizing that I was just not very happy in my marriage. I wasn't happy in this beautiful prison, I call it, that is this farm, because this farm had consumed me. I couldn't do my work. And I had that calling of working with women. And maybe because I went through this hormonal shift, I had fixed my body. I felt like I was healing. I was studying naturopathy and I saw the magic of cleansings and using herbs and understanding the dynamics and the synergies of different foods together. And I was like, oh my God, this is what I'm meant to do. And I truly I had this awakening, and by the summer of 2023, something stirred inside me, and I had this calling of opening my office in Braga and truly dedicating my myself to working with women and knowing that I had to do my work outside the space. I actually also realized that, and this is for future reference, I always wanted to have a retreat and I still do want to create something smaller, but I want it where I don't live because I feel that it's very overwhelming to live where you work. And it energetically, you don't have the time to really clear the space from people that come, and people come with baggage, and it's normal. You want them to do that so that you can help them release that baggage, but it stays there. It takes a while to clear it, and as much as you're strong and powerful, it's a lot. I mean, this place still holds the trauma of all the drama of 2020 2019 to 2023, like truly. So it's not, it's very hard to be here and not feel the remnants of that energy. Even if you are feeling stronger and you changed, the stones have that energy. The trees hold on the memories. Like there is a lot of trauma here. And this is why when I talk about healing, it's not just the food. It's a 360. And if you don't do it 360, you're not healing because it's much, much deeper than that. So you can do as many ketogenic diets as you want. You can eat as much kale as you want. You can have all your broccoli every day. You can do whatever you do. But if you're not cleansing and healing the emotional stuff, you are going to be stuck and you're going to be comfortable being stuck. And that is something that I just can't. I realize that I am a free spirit. I want to be able to move here or there. I don't have to be stuck in one place. So for me, even having properties is like, let me have something that is more like an investment because I want to be free to just live in different places. That's actually something I really feel it's enriching me. So with that in mind, I basically, yeah, changed my whole life. But putting myself first has come with a lot of consequences. And again, I said, it's 2 years that I'm separated from my husband, and we talk and we're good friends, and we're trying to really heal the relationship to, like, our relationship as humans, to be honest with each other, to be soothing and supporting to each other, to be better versions of ourselves when we are together as humans, even though we can't be together as a couple, maybe. We don't know what the future holds. I'm never close to anything. I think what happened had to happen, and I'm happy it happened. I don't wish it to be any other way for many, many reasons. But it prompted us to be better versions of ourselves with each other anyway, as friends at the very least. And, I think in any relationship, the relationships that stay, that really matter, that really stand the test of time, are relationships where you are friends. This is why I find it very interesting when, people find me on men in Portugal that find me through Instagram from connections and stuff, and they ask me out on dates on Instagram, which I'm like, okay, even actually from abroad, which is mind blowing. But I'm like, okay, first of all, Instagram is not a dating site. I'm not here to find a date. So maybe not appropriate. But also, like, I don't know you. And even if I wanted to, like, get to know you, like, there would have to be an element of friendship there. So it's not going to happen randomly with somebody online. I mean, that's just it. I met somebody online that I became super friends with, and with his family, by the way. Marco, Rachel, like Rachel's now one of my best friends. Like we became amazing friends, and we have so many things in common because we also vegan. So we have something to talk about. We have the same kind of mindset. We eat the same way. We can talk about a lot of stuff. We're all in that wanting to develop, especially with Rachel. She's more or less my age, a little bit older, but we are in our 40s. We want certain things. We can support each other. Like that's a beautiful thing. But that's the one exception. Other people like that I'm friends with, I met in person, and some of them developed into friendships. Other are just people I know and say hi to in the street, and I'm not interested in being friends with, and women and men. And that's because energetically, like you just have to find your tribe. And this is also why I started different projects. Aside from my work, I do Elevate, which is a eco-friendly sustainability community project to try and bring like-minded people together. In that, you see the challenges of politics, of local politics, you see the challenges of people politics, and their willingness to create a community or not. So you find your tribe. But once you start working on yourself and you know who you are, it's so much easier to find the people that you align with. And it's beautiful because you actually also practice one beautiful thing, that is acceptance. And, even with my family, I don't have a relationship with my family that I decided not to foster and nurture anymore because I feel that we are not on the same page at this point in our life. And again, I never say never to anything changing in the future, but right now that's how it is. However, I also appreciate who they are and let them be and accept them. It's just that we're not going to be in the same space, but there's that acceptance. You are doing your life, you're walking your path, and you will get where you need to be for you. And that has nothing to do with me. And I'm happy for you. And all I can say is pray for you to get the best outcome of everything that you choose to do. And that's really a great thing. Like, you're not wishing bad on anybody. I even have people that, hurt me, and I'm like, I want you to be happy. Be happy, please. Find happiness within you, because ultimately I know that everybody's going through a struggle. Honestly, I think even the person that is sitting there thinking everything is perfect is not. So go through your struggle, go through your trauma, go through everything you need to do. Find peace, be happy, and also be aware that everything changes. Who you are now hopefully will change, and you will be a different person with better emotional awareness, with better tools next year, the year after, in 10 years, in 20 years. Some people need to wait until they get to the end of life. That's okay. Everybody has a journey. Our soul has a journey. We are here to expand our vessel. So this is my story in a nutshell. I don't know if I did it in 20 minutes. I feel like I cannot even actually see on Zoom recording. So, but I wanted to explain the full picture. So, and I love long format videos because I don't think we can, it's very minimalistic to do it in a short format. And also, guys, can we just practice paying attention instead of 30 seconds, please? Because it's mind blowing how people are not able to focus. So with that in mind, I just wanted to send love to all of you. Thank you for asking these questions, by the way. Listen to my podcast. I've shared in abundance about everything. I shared about linear healing, about the relationship with family. I shared everything. Some things have evolved and changed since I shared, and they will continue. And you can see the journey and the extension. But just enjoy your journey, where you're at, but just become more self-aware. That really, really helps. So I want to just plug in one thing, talking about focusing. I found this amazing app called Brain FM. Check it out, please. This website, it is unbelievable. It's music that you basically put into your ears, and you can decide if you want to do meditation or deep work. I've been using it for deep work, but also for sleep. And wow, when I put it on, I dream like there's no tomorrow. But the deep work has been life-changing because I just got shit done. And I have noticed that my brain has been scattering, and that has really helped. And it's created for also to have like this ADHD mode on, which I put on, where really the vibrations that are connected to your your synapses allow a much more stable neuroplasticity or neurological events. Like the synapses are much more stable, they're calmer, they're not firing. Basically, you're not firing with your neurons like all over the place. You're much more stable, so you can focus. It works. It works. So check it out. And I actually signed up to be an affiliate. I haven't been approved yet, but I love them so much that I'm like, yes, please. I want to be an affiliate. I want this to be on my podcast. I want to share it online. I love it because it's so needed. I see everybody being completely distracted, including myself. This is life changing. So yeah. Anyway, guys, have a great day. See you soon. Bye.